We don't know it.
I just said that they're gonna have to stand like right here.
We need this.
They said that there is a mic.
Do you want to take our pictures?
Do we want a mic? Like, do they need to move this mic or can they just simply stand right
No,
here?
they can, I mean, they can stand there. The microphone is in that square panel with the green light.
So just
that's what
shift
gives the
that-
sound to our live streams.
Okay,
Okay, so we want to just do that.
just shift a little. Okay. All right.
I'm just gonna grab this and take it with me when we come back. Okay, so that will be.
In the middle, and then, yep,
In the new name.
that way. Miss Bruno.
Yeah, you gotta be in this room. Yeah.
Ron's on this one.
All right, I know. John, look at me.
Okay, bye.
Give me permission to bring her. I will just let her ride. Okay. Does she need a seat, car seat? She'll
Hard to beat.
Good evening. It is 6 o'clock and it's time for us to start. I want to welcome each of you. This is our only meeting this month. It's our combined work session and our regular board meeting. But we do appreciate all of you being here. We've got some special guests I know tonight. I ask you if you would like to join me in a moment of silence as we begin our meeting. Now, we have 4 very special students from Northside who are going to lead our Pledge of Allegiance. So, Ms. Kiker, will you come forward and introduce those students for us, please?
I would love to introduce you to 4 shining stars from Northside. So we have Miss Addie Sluter, come on up. John Main. Caitlin Schwering. And Peyton Schulich. And they are going to lead us in the pledge.
All right, will you stand with us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We appreciate y'all being with us tonight. As we begin our meeting, I know everyone has seen the agenda. And were there any additions or anything anyone saw that needed to be added? All right, the March 18th, 2024 work session regular meeting agenda will be approved with no objection. And now we have 2 schools with us tonight. And first of all, we're going to ask Ms. Kiker to come back. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. Okay. No, we have our wrestling team with us tonight, so let's introduce them first.
And I don't see Dr. Blackwell here, but I'm going to introduce Coach Strobel. He's going to come up and introduce some of his coaches and athletes who are here. I'm going to tell a quick story. 3 years ago, there was a change in the leadership at West Oak for wrestling team, and Dr. Blackwell was put in a unique position where Coach Brewer, who was a great wrestling coach in his own rights, he retired from coaching, but not from teaching. So Dr. Blackwell didn't have a teaching position to hire a new coach, and that's tough. If you've been a high school principal, that's a hard position to be in. We knew how important wrestling was at West Oak, so Mr. Hanvey told Dr. Blackwell, we're going to give you an extra teaching position for a year, so you go out and find the best wrestling coach in the state of South Carolina and bring him to West Oak High School. 3 years later, I think Coach Strobel may have proven that Dr. Blackwell did a good job, because this is the 3rd straight state championship, and we're happy to have you. Congratulations to you and your staff and team, and love to hear a few words about them and have you introduce them to us.
Sure. You guys can come on up. I have two of the assistant coaches are here tonight with us, Coach Mack and Coach Durham. Some of our other coaches are actually coaching other sports.
Sure.
And it's kind of hard this time of year because so many of our wrestlers played multiple sports. So, we have 33 guys on our team, but these are the guys that could make it because of other commitments. But with us, we had 3-time state champ Teague Strobel. We have Ryan Driver, this year's 106-pound state champion, Peyton Durham, Wyatt Saxon, Trent Hobbs, Carlos Rodriguez, region runner-up Ryan Addis, Joe Tao, Corbin Dixon, who was one of our state qualifiers this year, and Trey Nurath. What's great about these guys and this team, this was our 3rd straight year winning the dual title, but we also won the traditional tournament, state tournament title for the 3rd year in a row. So we're really proud of the effort that these boys put in, and we're still training right now. We're getting ready to get going up to nationals. We're taking some wrestlers up there, so they're training for that, and we've got other guys training for freestyle and Greco season. So it's an ongoing wheel that just keeps on moving. So hopefully we can get it done again next year. But we enjoyed this time and recognize these guys. And thank you guys for having us here.
Please join me in a round of applause. We're gonna let the board members come stand with you and take a picture that we can put on our website to replace the one from last year. So we be happy to do this again next year too. So.
I can see everybody's faces. Thank you.
You know, I just have to say, I went to a couple of matches this year at West Oak, and it's really something to see. It's kind of the longest 2 minutes of your life. It happens again and again. But Coach Strobel has done such an incredible job, and it's such a good program. And if you ever get a chance to talk to these students, I think you'll hear the same thing. And we're just so very proud of you. The whole town's proud of you, so we just appreciate you being here tonight. And now, Mrs. Kiker, we'll let you come back up and talk about Northside.
I'm so excited to talk about Northside and the wonderful things that we are doing as a school. So I'm Charlotte Kiker. I'm the principal at Northside Elementary. I also have Mrs. Paige Lau with me. She's one of the assistant principals at Northside, and Mr. Antonio Scott. He's the other assistant principal at Northside. So we're excited to share together some of the great things that we're doing at Northside. And I want to start out with Mrs. Britton Bruno. So she took 4 students that did the pledge just a second ago to all-state chorus, and it was a phenomenal experience for them. So she's going to talk a little bit about it, and then she is going to have them share a special treat with us.
While they're coming up, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to our parents. We had 8 students in Oconee County get selected for the State Honor Choir, 4 of them from Northside and 4 from Kiwi. And these parents took the time out of their busy schedules to spend a whole weekend in Columbia in February. So we're very proud of them, and we're especially proud of the work our students put in. They had about 5 weeks to learn their songs. We would love to sing one of the songs for you tonight. However, all Oconee students learned the bottom harmony part, so you would only get half the song. So instead, we are going to preview our Springfest concert, which will be April 16th, and we're going to sing 2 songs from that for you. It's a mix-up of Give My Regards to Broadway and You're a Grand Old Flag.
Give my regards to Broadway, remember me to Herald Square. Hello, the gang at 42nd Street, that I will soon be there. Whisper of how I'm yearning to mingle with the old-time throng. Give my regards to old Broadway and say that I'll be there long. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true 'neath the red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast or brag. And should all acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Keep your eye on the grand old flag.
Whoa.
Well done. We are so extremely proud of our Northside singers here.
Good evening, y'all. So up here, we talking about our girls math group that we started at Northside. And we, I want to highlight the data that we used to create the recalculator. Certain group of girls that were struggling with math, and so we implemented this girls group to fill in those gaps to help get those girls to where we would like so that they can perform well. And we're excited to get it lifted and get it started. So Seneca One is something that's created for all of the schools in the Seneca community to come together and do things to help, uplift our community. And this was one of the things that we worked with Ravenel and Seneca Middle and Seneca High School in Blue Ridge, and we collected paper towels, coffee cups for Safe Harbor, doing things to uplift the Seneca community.
Hey, I'm Paige Lau, again, one of the assistant principals at Northside. We also wanted to highlight our Beta Club induction ceremony that happened recently. Long time ago, I think when Miss Kiker was a student at Northside, Miss Joyce White started Beta Club at Northside. And during COVID, we haven't had a club since then. So we were super excited 4 years later to reinstate this club and look forward to the many service projects that they will do. Miss Peyton Schulich is the club president as well. So she is, she is definitely a leader, and I'm sure you'll hear her name at Seneca Middle School and Seneca High School too. So she is a bright star, as Miss Kiker said. We also recently had our science fair. I know many of y'all know Miss Laura Land that heads that up in our STEM lab for our older students. And it's just thrilling to see the joy of science in these students that want to participate. It is an optional program or assignment that they can do. And we wanted to share this little highlight with you of these 5th grade boys.
This is the award ceremony.
Look at this joy. Isn't that precious? All about science, too. Super proud of them, and they recently, over spring break, went to regionals at Southern Wesleyan University, so we wanted to highlight those students that won at the regional science fair, too. So.
Now try.
There they are. We are very proud of them and thankful for all the parents' hard work and helping their students, but also Miss Land that continues to plan for that exciting time in the spring. So.
I'm going to be talking about our 3rd grade emotional support group. So something that we noticed at Northside is that our 3rd grade students had kindergarten at a time where they were told to stay 6 feet apart from each other, that they shouldn't play with each other because of COVID restrictions, that they only needed to play with their own toys, and we saw some impacts from that. So we decided that we were going to kind of go back to the basics during guidance time and talk about how to play nicely together, how to be a great friend, how to share appropriately with tools, and we have found that the behavior incidences have gone down, but their academics have gone up. So we're extremely proud of our 3rd grade students and our school counselors, Mrs. Shannon Wright and Heather Honeycutt, for leading this initiative. One of the things that, while we were creating this, we thought, wow, we know what we think is great about Northside and what we would love to share with the board and our district, but what do our teachers think? What do they believe as a grade level makes Northside a great place to be, and why do they want to work at Northside Elementary School? So they got together with their team, and they came up with a quote that fit them. So each grade level participated in giving a quote, and I'll give you a copy of this and let you read what our teachers think that Northside's a great place to be. So in doing that, we have a wonderful reading coach over there, Mrs. Kristen Hedden. She's also in the admin cohort for the school district of Oconee County, so she wants to be a principal one day, and I can see why with her vision. So she was like, Charlotte, we talked about why we think as a leadership team that Northside's a great place to be. And we've asked our teachers, but what about our students? Why is it a great place for our students? And so she went around, and it was on the fly, and she just said, tell me why you love Northside. Why is Northside the best school? Why do you think it's your favorite? And so this is authentic, beautiful statements from our students that we are extremely proud to share with you tonight.
You love Northside because it is positive. I love Northside because the teachers are great. Northside because of research. Northside because of how nice it is. I love Northside because of the teachers. I like Northside because all of the teachers and students are so kind to us. Our favorite thing about Northside is the teachers. I love Northside because the faculty and staff. Northside because of course. Northside because everybody is kind. What a nice place to live. Northside because it's safe. Very nice. And we keep it clean. Northside because of the teachers that teach us. And I love that. I want Northside because I want learning. Northside because all the teachers and students are very helpful and nice. I love Northside because of the bears. All the nice teachers. I love Northside.
Oh, that's great.
Right out of the mouths of our students who love Northside just as much as I do. I say all the time that I'm biased, but I'll tell you this, I do love Northside from the bottom of my heart, and I'm so thankful that I get the privilege of leading and loving. But the one thing that I was so proud of that I was talking to our teachers about today was what was the common phrase up there? That we love our teachers. We love our teachers. They make the difference. Our teachers. When our kids love coming to school, our kids are happy, our teachers are happy, and when teachers and kids are happy, community's happy. When community's happy, you guys are happy. So we're very thankful that Northside's a great place to be, and thank you for allowing us to come and share with you tonight.
Thank you so much for being here. And we certainly thank all the students that are here.
Yes, ma'am.
And now Carson Lee Croy from Hamilton Career Center, Career and Technology Center is going to tell us about what's happening over there. A lot, I know.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, guys. That's a tough act to follow. Thank you, Ms. Kiker. My kindergartner is at Northside, and he's having a great year. So I promise I won't sing. But I also, if we did a video asking our students what do they love most about the Career Center, I'm afraid they just say sampling Chef Quick's culinary arts class. Am I right, fellas in the back? Yes, I've seen some of our wrestlers who are at the Career Center. But I'm excited to share with you a few updates and a few new things we got going on. You know the regulars, right? Some of the goals that you've charged us with and the goals that we wear proudly, right? We want to continue working to make sure that our classrooms are full. We want to make sure our students are completing these courses and are graduating career ready. And they can do that two ways, right? By earning a certification and or earning a 40-hour work-based learning internship experience. So we are well on track in meeting those goals for us. We're on pace to complete 158 of those 40-hour work-based learning experience. That's 30 more than we were at this point last year. So I'm very proud of that effort. We're right on pace, too, to meet our goal of earning 950 industry-recognized certifications throughout our student body. And we are right at a little over 1,100 students that will go through our halls either first semester, second semester, morning or afternoon. So business is good at HCTC. So I wanted to tell you a few of the new things that we've got going on. We brought in two big new certifications this year, both in our health science department. The first, you can see Coach Corey Tate on the left. He's our sports medicine teacher. We brought on physical therapy aid certification. The students coming back for Sports Med 3, most of these are seniors. The first part of the course, they are reviewing their skills and they'll actually take the PT8 certification. And the second half is a work-based learning internship experience, a doctor's office, chiropractor's office, physical therapy offices. And we even have some at the Y who are leading exercise classes and things like that. So we're very proud of our sports med program and how it's grown. And we also have here pictured on the right, two of our students who are receiving our patients in our EKG lab. So we paired our certified medical assisting course to also earn an EKG certification. So next semester, if you guys want a free EKG, come on down. I also volunteer, CMA students also get a taste of phlebotomy. So if you're feeling brave enough, they did a great job. Come get your blood drawn at HCTC. Ms. Burgess is our awesome teacher who is in charge of our CMA program. She's going to come up in just a moment and discuss our HOSA club. But those are two new certifications that our students are able to earn at HCTC. I'm very proud, too, of our career counselor, Miss Amy Jared, who organized Industry Day. So in the fall semester, we organized one big day where we had over 55 industry experts that represented every single one of the courses that we taught come to HCTC and sit down in our students' panel style, answer questions, tell them about their education, their experience, and their path. So every single one of our students got to hear the real deal. Yes, they trust our teachers, and they love our teachers, but sometimes it just means something a little bit more when it's coming from somebody who's in the field currently. We polled our students after Industry Day. We asked them several questions, but one of the questions that we asked, are you less interested, more interested, or neutral in the field that you are in after Industry Day? And 67% of our students said they are more interested in their field after Industry Day. So I was very proud of that effort. We're also proud that we kind of organized a tailor-made CTE, Career and Technical Education, professional development plan for our teachers this year. Shout out to Dr. Ketterman for helping lead one of our sessions this year. But these is professional development for CTE teachers, really by CTE teachers. So one of the things that we hear is that professional development's great, but sometimes it doesn't feel tailored towards us. So we tailored it towards us this year. And today was our second session. We called it the deep dive. So whatever they learned the first session, they went even deeper and made it applicable to their classroom, their students, and their learning. And I'm excited to see the growth that comes from that after the CTE Academy Round 1. But it's been very well received by our teachers so far. Something else that we're proud of is our students participating in organizations. Our Skills USA competitions are coming up. We've got carpentry, auto tech, and then we're doing a Teamworks Challenge in Greenville. That's next week, but we actually have a group that is back. It's our HOSA group, and I'm going to ask Miss April Burgess to come up. She is one of our health science teachers and HOSA advisors. So HOSA existed pre-COVID times. Well, it's back, and they've been doing some awesome things and for our health science students who are interested in the healthcare field. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about HOSA and recognize one of our students tonight. There you go. That button right there on the right.
Okay. So I would rather be sticking an IV in you right now than talking to you. I am a nurse. I was a nurse for 20 plus years, still am. Education, I've only been in 2.5 years, so I will probably not use the correct lingo, but that's not his fault, that's mine. So I'm an educator in the making. So HOSA's been around since 1976. It stands for Health Occupation Student Association. But then they just kind of made it simpler and said Future Health Professionals. It's kind of like the Beta Club, so to speak. And I'm going to have to turn to this one. This year, we've not had a HOSA chapter since pre-COVID. This year, we ended up with 66 members, which is really great. One of our goals was to raise money toward purchasing an AED for a local private school that just needs a little bit of help. We also participated in Hike for Hope, which brings awareness to suicide prevention. And our students were very much in awe of the resources that we have available that they just didn't know about. So this was great for our leaders to be able to see that and to know what we have available. We also did a Christmas drive in collaboration with the Walhalla Beta Club, and we supplied a lot, like 3 cars worth, loaded down to Seneca Health and Rehab, Lila Dual, and Seneca Residential. We hosted a blood drive, and I believe our total units was 34 units that we were able to get from our students and staff, so that was great. And then our leaders for HOSA, because there's a president, there's a vice president, secretary, treasurer, they all attended the Fall Leadership Conference at Newberry College. I didn't get to go to that, but I hear it was wonderful. We also had 19 students that competed at the state level, the South Carolina HOSA State Leadership Conference. And we had these events that we kind of covered: EMT, medical terminology, nutrition, behavioral health, CPR and first aid, anatomy and physiology, life support skills, and then photography was also inadvertently left off, I'm sure. So here are just a couple of pictures of our brilliant students. Elizabeth Olvera, and Olivia Sanchez. They actually made it to round 2 for healthcare display competition. Not only did they have to create this beautiful display, but they also had to create a speech or say a speech that was 5 minutes or less talking about that profession. Scarlett Vilga and Hannah Isley placed in the top 5 in the emergency medical technician competition. They got to go on stage. It was huge. You had to be in the top 3 to qualify for ILC, International Leadership Conference. Sarah Smith, who is with us today, if you'll stand, she actually qualified for the International Leadership Conference and will be going to Houston, Texas in June. So, very good. Then when we got there, we found out there was a new competition called Anatomage. Never had heard about it. But they were doing on-site registration. So we collaborated and put together that team that you see there: Sydney Kirby, Elizabeth Olvera, Olivia Sanchez, and Mackenzie Lee. And they won 4th place out of 28 teams. Wow. And they had no clue, no studying. They went in and competed, and we were so excited. And they are actually going to be able to go to Las Vegas for the National Anatomage Tournament. So that table that you see them standing at on the bottom right of your screen, it's got this big, it's like a computer screen, and you see this body, and so they get questions like, point to the first metacarpal on the right side, whatever. You get where I'm going. And I was watching this, and actually it was metatarsal. And I was we couldn't say a word as the instructor, of course. And I'm standing there, and I hear Sydney go, okay, metatarsal. No, you walk on tar, you drive a car, it's on the feet. So, it was so cute. They did such a great job. But to place 4th with no study, we were just thrilled. And just a few other things that we did. Top left was a bake sale in trying to raise money for the AED. The top middle and top right, that's Hike for Hope as well. Bottom left, that's the Fall Leadership Conference. Then we actually got to go to a couple of elementary schools. I was actually at Northside and showed off some really cool, they got to hear their heartbeat. It was kind of fun. And then on the bottom right was one more fundraising project that we had where we had jars set up, and the students could purchase marbles to pie an instructor. And if they got 50 marbles, I think was the goal, then I think they were $1 a piece, then that instructor got pied and they went nuts. Needless to say, a lot of them got pied. And that is it. Thank you so much for letting me brag on these kiddos.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what I think happened too with the pie contest is the adults started picking on one another and started filling up each other's jars. Because we have different students in the morning and afternoon, we had to get pie twice. So you forgot to mention that, Ms. Bird. We're happy to do it for the students, but that's a little bit about what's new at HCTC this year. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Well, it's been wonderful hearing from both these schools, but I do know that these students have to get up and go to school tomorrow. So at this time, if you would like to leave, we welcome you to stay, but if you would like to take off tonight, please do, and have a good day tomorrow. That's just amazing.
at home, so he's sitting at home in front of the computer right now.
All right, and at this time, we will have our public comment, and I believe we have one person signed up to speak tonight.
Deanna Williams.
Good afternoon. My name is Deanna Williams. I'm the mother of the child that the school bus dropped off over 2 miles from home. I'm here tonight to keep speaking and pushing for justice and for change so that no family has to go through what mine has. Firstly, I'd like to comment on the driver only getting administrative leave, which to my understanding is a paid vacation, which the majority of will be took place over spring break that she would have been off for regardless. Next, I would like to know about the policies that I'm told will be put into place to prevent this from happening again. What they specifically are, how they will be enforced, and when they will go into motion. I would like to have the district held accountable and make sure it is followed through with. I have copies of emails where board members have replied to separate incidents for another situation, saying that it's impossible to have a policy for every instance. And I understand that, but I would like to make sure that these issues don't get swept under the rug, aren't small issues, because my 9-year-old was left 2 miles from home. That's the scariest ride of my life that my husband drove me. That was the scariest phone call I've ever gotten. Watching the bus whiz by and have somebody from Facebook call me and tell me they had my child. It's unacceptable. So I would like to know the specific policies. The school district's been commenting about policies being put into place. I would like to know what they are, when they'll go into place, how they're going to be enforced. Because I never want a family to go through what my family has. It's new, it's different for the kid to get on a bus, and then the very first time he's with a new driver, being told this isn't your area, him speaking up and saying I don't live here, and him still being put off the bus. I understand that it's not all on the bus driver, that there was the ball dropped in other places. That's why I'm coming to y'all to make sure that the ball never gets dropped again. Because my child never wants to ride a school bus again. He doesn't even want to go near it. And I can't blame him. And I would like to lastly request that y'all implement extra training or like a refresher course for some of the school bus drivers that have been with the district for X amount of time or even on a regular basis to go over the rules, any new policies, procedures, just a refresher course. So they're not getting complacent with their jobs. Because I feel like that had a lot to do with what happened to my child was complacency. I just don't want any other family to feel like I felt, any mother to have the heart that walks outside of her body left where he's not supposed to be when he's in the care of this district. I just thank y'all for your time, and I'll be waiting for the district's response on these matters and for these policies for mention to take place. But, I would just really like to know exactly what's going to be done to make this correct. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we need to look at the minutes from the February 12th, 2024 work session meeting and regular board meeting. Did anyone see anything that needed to be changed on those minutes? All right, then, the minutes from February 12th work session meeting and regular board meeting minutes will be approved with no objection. And now it is time for Dr. Thorsland's report.
Sure, thank you. And just a couple of quick things. It was already alluded to when HCTC was here just a minute ago about the professional development that they hosted for our CTE teachers, but I also wanted to give Dr. McDonald and Mr. Smith a chance just to report on the elementary and secondary, regular classroom teachers, the professional development that they had that day. So let them speak for just a second, and then I'll touch on the last two.
So it was a really exciting time for all the elementary educators because this was the first time in a very long time that we had all of our K through 5 educators, whether they were classroom teachers, related arts, guidance counselors, administrators, all hands were on deck as we engaged in learning about classroom management and student behavior through the vacuum or the vehicle of setting limits, which is a program that's basically around teaching kids what parameters and structures are in place in your classroom, holding them accountable for what you say you're going to do, but then also making sure we give some realistic consequences that go with those expectations, and making sure that we know that giving a kid a consequence isn't a bad thing, right? That's holding them accountable, letting them know what the actual structure of the classroom should be. A lot of our teachers are super excited, which sounds, funny because it's like, oh, it's a whole day out of my classroom. But the results were really overwhelmingly positive with them wanting to learn more. And so for us, on our side, it's always great when folks leave wanting to learn more. And we are trying to figure out ways to make sure that learning can happen for our folks. And also just want to comment that we had our specialized support teachers. So thinking about our special education teachers as well as our speech teachers, MLP teachers, they engaged in some professional development specifically targeted toward their area and their roles. And there was some good feedback around that as well.
Thank you. Also for secondary, we've already heard a little bit about some of the specialized learning that we had with our CATE teachers. Again, another shout out to Dr. Ketterman for being our resident expert as one of the deliverers of that professional learning, but also want to thank Mr. Lee Croy for his great leadership in designing that. Very often those teachers, they're a square peg in a round hole, and they get professional learning that may not be specifically designed for them, but that's not the case here. They're getting some really specialized treatment. Along those lines, our performing arts teachers were able to partner with clinicians and professors in the local area, and February 19th for them was a day of just really trying to elevate the engagement of the learning experiences those students are receiving across our district in the arts. The bulk load of our secondary teachers, in fact, over 200 teachers met at West Oak High School, where our focus for this year is really under 3 headings: curriculum, assessment, and instruction, which could be considered our core business. And so with the focus on curriculum for that day, really diving deeply into the standards, making sure that we understand what our students need to know and what they need to be able to do, and then being able to move toward ensuring that all of our students are consistently receiving learning experiences on grade level that are aligned to those standards to ensure that all of our students have access to the very best of learning experiences. And so we had a great day. We put out a survey after. Our teachers, almost 250 of our teachers, we were just really ecstatic about the response and engagement, and we're planning on April 1st, diving right back in and having a day full of conversations around assessment. So we're excited about the work that's going on and the support that our teachers are getting and able to engage in. Thank you.
And I'll just kind of follow that up with, a lot of times you may hear that teachers want time in their rooms, and we want to give teachers time in their rooms. However, the state of South Carolina says on those 10 days that teachers work outside of the normal student calendar, we have to do 3 district in-service days, and then there are a couple of school in-service days, and then 5 work days for your room. So this was one of those district professional development days where we're required to provide training, because you can't just go into a classroom and never learn things that are new or changing. So we need to provide that for our teachers, and did a great job. Also want to brag on the instruction department for putting on our STEAM night at the Career Center. This has quickly become a tradition in our county, where we're just kind of whetting the appetite for our elementary students on what the Career Center has to offer. And our elementary schools set up a table, as well as different organizations throughout the county. The equipment that Prisma Health brought into the Career Center that night was incredible. Kids could do mock robotic surgeries, and it was incredible. But very well attended. It's been one of the more positive events that I've been affiliated with in the school district, and our instruction team leads that with the help of all the elementary schools. Career Center had students and staff members there assisting as well. Elementary students could go in the welding lab and get their initial welded on a little plate of metal, and just different things to cause elementary students to think, this is a cool building, I need to come here one day. And that's what we want. So great night there, and kudos to everybody involved in that. And finally, town hall meetings, just this is the, I guess, third year we will have done this, but this is just an opportunity for me to go to each of the school locations in the county, optional meeting for faculty and staff to come in and just, I'll talk maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, but it's more of just a chance for any faculty and staff member to ask questions, share comments. This year, since they're both new in their positions, Dr. McDonald and Mr. Smith are accompanying me to Dr. McDonald to the elementary schools, Mr. Smith to the secondary schools. But again, just a chance to sit down. We've done 2 of those, Dr. McDonald and I have. We've yet to do a secondary school, but those are coming up in the next 3-4 weeks. We'll get out to all the schools to try to chat with our faculty and staff members. And that's it for me.
Lots and lots of good things going on. Thank you so much. And now, Mr. Schicklin, you have a legislative update for us.
I do. I have the pleasure of providing this month's legislative update. And last month we heard from Dr. McDonald a lot about Read to Succeed, so I will talk about some updates or reforms to that legislation. I've only been through a few cycles here of our legislative process, but I would say based on the content that I'm seeing or getting updates on, I think the legislature is committed to making it more complex with each passing year. So there's a lot going on, but I'll do my best. The first one, and probably stealing the attention for school districts, is the appropriations bill in the House Ways and Means Committee. So that appropriations bill has changed from the governor's proposal, and the governor's proposal was to consolidate or condense the pay scales. And Dr. McDonald spoke to that one, I believe, in her January update. So that was predicated on a study that was done by the Fiscal Affairs Office. Mr. Rainwater is the name of the individual who has delivered that to the superintendents, to the business officials, to the school boards. And that presentation had 30 or 40 some slides, but this is probably the most noteworthy and is the most salient point about why this proposal is not flat across the board, everyone gets the same amount. By the state's analysis, we're facing a shortage on teachers, and that's predominantly driven by either dropout in the first 5 years of the career or not completing the credentialing and not entering the teaching career. And so there is a concerted effort here with the pay scales to incent folks to enter the teaching career and maintain their credential and keep working through those difficult first few years and make it over the hump. And so, the graphic there that's provided is the most notable loss is teachers with a bachelor's degree and teachers at the beginning of their career. So the goal with this updated salary schedule here, and I'll share it with you, is to really put more money into these starting salaries in those first 5 years, especially into the bachelor's, but also into the master's, so that folks are continuing to progress through their career pattern. This would include $230 million in additional state aid to schools. That our share of that $200 million or $230 million is largely dependent upon our number of students in proportion to the state. So, as district enrollments increase or decrease proportionally, so does their allocation of state aid, because it's based on the total number of students in the state. But there's a dramatic change here to the minimum salary scale. I'll share that with you now. The biggest thing I think that people will find as a change is that it's not a uniform increase across all the cells. So for each of the columns here, they represent a various education level: bachelor's degree, a bachelor's with additional credits, a master's with additional credits, and a doctorate. We didn't have enough space to put up all of the detail of the salary scale. It is going from right now there's 23 years on the state scale, and they would expand it to 28. And you can see there's between a $4,500 at the beginning to close to a $4,500 increase per cell on that bachelor's column. The bachelor's plus 18 is slightly lower, although you do see at year 5, there's some added emphasis, again, trying to keep people in the career, in the profession, and progressing. And then by the time you get to a master's plus 30 or a doctorate, you see very minimal increases. One of the other things that ASBO highlighted today is traditionally, whenever that minimum scale for teachers is issued, districts that pay above that are directed to maintain whatever their local supplement is. So let's say a district is $1,000 above the minimum. They need to maintain that $1,000 above the minimum the next year, whatever the minimum increases to. That provision has been dropped. So there's added uncertainty here because districts can navigate this any way, shape, or form they would like based upon the composition of their staff and their revenues. For us, this increase on that bachelor's scale, we pay comparatively a healthy local supplement. This increase on the bachelor's scale bumps the starting bachelor's pay to above what our current scale is completely. So again, this, as we analyze this, there are thoughts about, we've had discussions internally about how do we address it? Do we take exactly what our local supplement is and apply that to the new scale? That would be the most transparent way to do it. That would be the way that probably aligns the most to the state's intents. But again, inflation hasn't changed. There are 700 or 800 staff that are not teaching staff that are going to expect a cost of living adjustment. So all of those pieces of that puzzle have to fit within our footprint. Additional in this bill is a continuance of our school safety grants. We as a district just received our allocation of 2023 funds, so there's an expansion of school safety money. There's aid to support what is close to a 12% increase in employer contributions to the health plan. So in addition to those raises, employers, the cost of insuring our staff is increasing. The state's made a commitment, at least at this point, to help us offset that burden. Teacher supply stipends would increase by $50, and funding to support the school bus driver salary schedule. Oftentimes, bus drivers are grouped with other state employees, and so the language for other state employees is 1.5% increase. Again, we'll look at how our driver salaries compare to those in the region around us and make sure that we're competitive with whatever their scales are. The next bill is the Scholarship Trust Fund Expansion Bill. So, on the day that this news was announced, the existing scholarship trust fund was in state court, in the state Supreme Court, facing arguments about its constitutionality. So that it remains to be seen if that program will remain in place as it's currently constituted. But this expansion would add a number of different providers to the defined providers that could receive, the families receive funding, but where their students could be attending for the family to be eligible. It removes the requirement that a student had attended a public school or received a scholarship in the prior year. And there are a couple of things that phase in so the program would grow over time. The income limitation right now is that a family cannot exceed 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. By the fiscal year 2027, that would grow to 400%, and then it would be removed with no income limitation. There's a phased-in quantity of scholarships of 5,000 per year. So in the current iteration, it would be 5,000 scholarships provided, then 10,000, then 15,000, and then in fiscal year 27 and beyond, it would remove that cap. So by, what I've included as a link at the bottom is, and I'm not gonna click on it, but, I'm sorry, I'm on the clicker. The state provided a fiscal impact statement. So their analysis, think of it as that congressional budget office. What would this cost? What would the impact be? By their estimates, they believe that 90-something thousand students might be seeking to participate in a program like this by that FY 27. And so then they would at that point provide an accelerated consideration for students that are currently enrolled, if their families are active, armed forces, Medicaid eligible, or students with exceptional needs or in custody of DSS. So the estimate there is by fiscal year 27, the expenditure from the state to support this would go from $30 to $100 million. So when you compare that to the $230 million of additional classroom aid to all school districts statewide, that's a substantial figure. So it's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. Read to Succeed Act, I want to thank Dr. McDonald for assisting me with this one because she deals a lot more with the functional impact of this to teachers and staff and students. The focus on this one, again, is on K-5 literacy. So the endorsement that was formerly carried by K-12 staff now doesn't need to be carried by everybody, but only K-5. We're shifting to the science of reading, so more of a phonomic approach to reading based on, scientific studies and evidence, and it explicitly rejects in language what it calls the 3 cueing interventions. It requires proficiency at grade level by third grade students, or there's a retention, and there's the portfolio that students would maintain is no longer a valid exemption. So, what they really have to do is demonstrate proficiency on the standardized exams. And that would extend to students in grades 1 and 2 over the course of the next couple of years. So, the district would obviously anticipate that there will be additional service needs as this expands to more students and as the requirements become more stringent. The retained students have to also be provided additional reading support, including 90 minutes of reading daily, which can have an impact on our normal school calendar year, not only summer reading or retention. And then that letter certification, the board has been kept abreast of where we stand or what our recommendations there, where that training is required through K through 3 for our educators. But because so many of our educators may change from a grade 4 to a grade 3 classroom or move positions within a building, we are committed to providing that experience or credentials for K through 5 to make them interchangeable. Last and maybe least, just something of note, as the finance officer, this caught my eye, but booster clubs must now register annually with the Board of Education. So notify who they are, who are their officers, what are their intents, and then anybody with certain criminal convictions, so think financial related types of crime, are barred from serving as school booster club financial officers. So I'm not acutely aware of incidents that may have been preemptive to this if there were issues in some school districts that were brought to the attention of the legislature, but I don't think it can be a bad thing for us to know, where money is being involved with supporting any of our programs. So that's what I've got. I'm maybe a little bit long-winded, but wanted to try to be thorough. Are there any questions that I can answer for anybody?
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And now the February financial report.
I forgot I'm up after all of that. So February is the largest month of tax collections, so, that's the biggest item you'll see on the report is February's revenue from the county at $29.9 million. And then, standard state receipts coming in there throughout the rest of the revenues on the report. On the expenditure side, just fairly standard salaries, we're pretty programmed expenses on about $10,000 of payroll per month, or $10 million of payroll per month. We did actually get a legislative request for districts to make comment about their fund balance, and that was part of our commentary, was because we're somewhat reliant on our local tax revenue. A payroll of $10 million every month is difficult to meet when you're getting $5 to $6 million of state revenue. So you've got to close that gap by having an adequate fund balance, which is what our policy of 20% intends to address. So aside from that, nothing really of note, just standard routine revenues and expenses. Are there any questions that I can answer for that one?
You may find it interesting, Mr. Schickling shared with me a list of all the school districts in the state and the fund balance carried in each district. And we're middle of the pack as far as percentage. So we have a healthy fund balance, but it's certainly not extreme. There are districts that have a much higher percentage than Oconee, so I think we're kind of right in the middle.
It's good to hear. Great. All right, thank you so much. And now, Dr. McDonald, policy IKA-R, creating a simple systems.
Right. So, recently, last year, our state adopted new ELA standards, and recently, within the past couple of months, we adopted new math standards. And so our K through 2 report card is a standards-based report card where we have listed the various standards that students are expected to master. And so as a part of the conversation of changing that report card, we started to really look at how we can simplify what those indicators are on the report card so that it better, communicates to parents exactly what their students are supposed to do so that it can be parent-friendly. But one of the things that we really started to look at is clearly defining that grading scale. Our current grading scale for K through 2 is the ESNU system that has been in place for quite some time, where E is exemplary, S is satisfactory, N is needs improvement, and U is unsatisfactory. And so there has been a little bit of ambiguity around what these exactly mean and how they're being put in place in practice. And so we started talking with our teachers. This was a part of a teacher committee when we started looking at what the report card should look like, and this grading conversation came up of what this could possibly look like that would maybe better communicate how our students are performing on those standards. And so we found that in some districts, and we really like this model, we have 3 levels now, where we have an M, which is meets grade level standards. And so those students are demonstrating an understanding of those grade level standards consistently and independently. So this would not only be your kids that are able to meet the standard, these are your kids that are also able to go above and beyond. So you're capturing 2 groups in this category. With P being progressing toward meeting expectations, that'd be making that progress towards meeting grade level standards. And they're demonstrating some understanding. Sometimes it might be inconsistent understanding of those grade level standards, so they still need a little bit of support. And then N, which is not meeting expectations, where they're not meeting those grade level standards and they're demonstrating minimal understanding or no understanding of grade level standards. Jennifer Rich, she found this really cool graphic that really put all of this together for me, where it's the image of a kid and a bike, right? So our kids who are at M, they can ride a bike on their own. They're on there, they're pedaling, they're using the brakes, they can get on, off, they can maybe even pop a wheelie, right? They're meeting the expectations of being able to be on that bike. A student who is a P is a kid who maybe has to have training wheels, right? Or maybe they recently took off the training wheels, but dad is still right there carrying that bike along with them, helping them ride. Whereas our kids with not meeting expectations, they're looking at the bike, right? They're sitting there staring on it. They're not ready to get on it. They're not able to really understand what my feet need to do, what my hands need to do. And so that kind of helped to give me a visual of what these 3 letters represent. And so as we were talking with the teacher group, one of the things we wanted to make sure we had was that this was something all teachers would feel good about. And so we did send out a survey in December after we did our report card work, just to see, would teachers be interested in potentially shifting to a new grading scale? And that, of course, being that M, P, and N. And you can see that 91.7% of the teachers who responded said, yes, I support the use of this grading scale. Other places where it would impact on policy IKA-R would be in related arts. Our related arts teachers would then, instead of having MPN for K through 2 and then related arts in 3 through 5, continue to do ESNU. We would move them also in their related arts, so their music, PE, STEM lab classes, to that MPN as well. We reached out to our related arts leads to say, hey, poll your folks, let us know how they feel about that. And that was also overwhelmingly positive for teachers feeling as though this would be a move in the right direction. So I just wanted to put this in front of you so that you could start to look at it. Another thing for us to think about and consider as we look at that MPN qualifications there, one of the things that we really also liked was that this mirrors what our SC Ready expectations are, what students can score. You have your students who meet, your students who are progressing, your students who are not meeting. And so it really helps to give not students, it helps to give parents a better understanding of where their kids may be falling once they hit third grade, so that we can actually see where students are performing on the standards. This is just something for us to start thinking about as we start to move forward next week.
Dr. McDonald, can I make a comment? I guess I'm probably just an old traditionalist, but E, S, and U means a whole lot more to me than a M, P, and a N.
And that's one of the things that we did talk about that, and we talked about how we would need to have parent meetings. We'd want to make sure that we were doing things in our local areas to make sure we gave chances for parents to come in, ask questions, make sure our teachers were equipped with what this would actually look like in practice. If approved, we would actually start that process in May of going around to the schools and making sure teachers were informed of what constitutes an M, what constitutes a P, and what constitutes an N.
I can just see the child carrying the report card home, and the E, automatically, parents, the heads get bigger. My child's doing excellent work. When you come in with an M, well, they meeting expectations. I don't know how they gonna feel about it, but anyway.
Yeah, and that's definitely.
That's just me, okay?
No, and that's a conversation that we had, because even with me, with one of my own children, they have an E on their report card, but some of the confusion that we found that occurs in schools is whether E actually ends up representing grade level, or does it actually mean exceeding? And so we saw some parents saying, I want my kid to have an E. Well, an E should technically be above grade level, but we found in practice that maybe we were giving some kids E's that were at grade level. And so in doing it in this way, we would kind of start to address some of that so that we're giving parents a true communication of where their students are performing. But I do think that's something we'll have to talk about and how that lands on parents, because I think for some folks it might be a difficult shift for us to consider.
One more question and I'll shut up, okay? You get an M. One child gets an M, another child gets an M. One child's M is a whole lot better than the other. I mean, how are you gonna distinguish? You're meeting expectations, but are you meeting them barely, or are you really meeting them, or are you sure enough up here somewhere?
And I think that's where we really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's just my question.
I was just going to say, I think that's where we really land into our teacher expertise as they really try to be responsive to the students' needs in their classroom, because they're doing that every day even now. Even with our ESN and U's, you have different students operating at different levels in each of those categories. And so they're pulling small groups and they're saying these kids are the top 5%, these kids are the top 10%, these kids. And so we're already doing that work of meeting the needs of the kids where they are. And I think it helps for us to have some really intentional conversations with our parents to really clearly articulate what we're doing to support their kid. So I think we can still address, because I think we're currently addressing kids of different needs and different performance levels in our classroom. So I think we would still be able to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. And Mr. Hanvey?
Yes. So we are getting in the home stretch for the new middle school. Of course, there was a nice article in the paper, Andrew, where last 2 weeks ago Thursday, we gave a tour to the Seneca Rotary, community school, getting the community involved. And we're going to use that facility to host State of Oconee on April the 12th. Going to use the cafeteria, stage area, we'll have the sound system working and everything. So that'll be kind of another opportunity for some folks in the community to see it. But in talking in leadership, Dr. Thorson suggested that we have a board meeting there, because you guys haven't been in a while if you've been at all recently. And so with the floors being waxed and with the paint, looking good, and us putting in cabinets and doing all the things we're doing to get it ready, we talked about having a board meeting there, maybe do a ribbon cutting ceremony at 5, and then have 30 to 45 minutes where people can walk around and look and see, and we could have some people there who kind of help for maintenance and that kind of thing. And then have a meeting at 6 o'clock, and there we get our technology folks to live stream it and do all the things we have to do now to make it work, but we should have everything set to go. The one thing we did talk about is changing that date to the second meeting of the month, because Dr. Thorson will not be here on the 8th. And so I'm happy to do it either way. I mean, we can do it, rather him be there, but we can do it without him if we need to, if that works better. But we just thought we'd offer that up. If you don't think it works, then we'll set up a different time for you guys to come in small groups or whatever to see the most up-to-date part of the new building. So it's awesome. You're gonna love it when you walk in there.
So that would be the April 15th meeting?
It would be the April 15th meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anybody have any discussion, any objections to that?
So instead of April 8th, April 15th.
Mhm.
Still be 6 o'clock. We just, have it there. And we'll work with Darius Chamber to, if we want to make it an official ribbon cutting.
All right, then, we can go ahead and vote on it tonight. Do I have a motion that we meet on April 15th, 2024 for the school board meeting at the new Seneca Middle School?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you.
We'll have it set up for you.
That will work. All right, now is the time for board member comments, if anyone has anything they'd like to say.
Quick comment. I would like to just say thank you to Ms. Williams for coming and expressing her concerns to us. I know that we're all concerned about this kind of thing, and I just cannot imagine my child being left 2 miles away. I sympathize with your concerns there, and yes, I think we will. I'm quite sure we'll be doing something about it. We never need to get too complacent about anything like this, so thank you.
And I too would like to say, I went to the Oconee County Sheriff's Department sex trafficking seminar today held by the Crime Stoppers of Oconee and the Sheriff's Department. It was a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal experience, and I have encouraged the district and some other leaders in our community to potentially bring that guest speaker back. She is a true boots on the ground. She herself, I believe, has rescued well over 100 young girls out of sex trafficking worldwide, and she has experience here in South Carolina. She's from here, so she is true boots on the ground, and I could have sat there for another 4 hours and listened to her. It was just phenomenal. But with that being said, Ms. Williams, I also want to reiterate, in today's world, absolutely, that should never have happened, and I do apologize for that mistake. I feel as though our transportation department has potentially failed our bus driver and failed your child in not providing the right tools for this mistake to have happened. So I do apologize, and we will continue to work on this.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Personnel items, employment recommendations and changes, and an additional employee matter.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? All right. Again, thank all of y'all for being here tonight.